Hey guys, today SGC is in the spotlight. Most of the footage here that we're going to be looking at is Jeff from Sports Card Investor in the light blue shirt interviewing Peter Steinberg, president of SGC. We're going to pick apart the process. Even if you do grade or like grading, unlike myself, it is important to know all of this stuff and to be critical of their process. And I think largely this just shows how small and basic these grading companies are. SGC being even bigger than most of the ones that are popping up now, where they were around beforehand, but now expanding. So let's go. Certainly interesting that we actually get a little bit of insight into how things went down when PSA decided to stop grading cards and now even limit the cards graded or service levels.
The news of PSA closing was as shocking to us as it was to all of you. Let me start by saying that. Let me also outline kind of what the month of March was like for SGC. Probably my favorite month that I've ever lived through. And the reason is because the amount of cards coming in was so beautifully met by the supply, the amount of cards that we were grading and sending out. It seemed that the customers were really comfortable with the new price point, with the new added service level, obviously.
And this was in March before SGC shut. So you guys were humming along, you were feeling good.
Life was great.
Life was great.
Life was great.
And then PSA.
All of a sudden, our demand, which was perfectly met with supply, was just shot literally 5x overnight.
5x from PSA shutting down. So what happens when PSA resumes as normal? What happens if they expand? Why aren't they expanding? Are they not expanding because they know the market will not stay this way? Probably. And, you know, these grading companies have to be, at least the ones that aren't intentionally temporary, need to be careful with how much they expand because the market is going to come back to normal. PSA is going to eventually soak up the portion of the market that they were originally.
And that is something that was quite a challenge.
Yeah, so you took, and that was the response. You were worried that you were going to get flooded with cards, or you were getting flooded with cards right away when PSA shut down. So you raised the price pretty dramatically. It rose from what to what?
So it basically rose from $25 to $75.
Yeah. So the price increase allowed you to preserve turnaround. But it's been a little while now. It's been a month, a little bit over a month, and
we have just been building. We have been hiring and training and teaching cards throughout the building and really preparing ourselves for this moment. I'm thrilled to say that after building a lot and getting this staff very prepared for what we know is coming, I am very proud to say that we are lowering our price back down to $30 a card.
$30.
So you might want to take notes here. Even the smaller grading companies, the ones that typically did not add much value to your card, had to raise their prices. Now they're bringing it back down. Probably a pretty good indication that the market is cooling off a little bit. $30 per card. How in the world is a card going to retain that value? And if they're going to bring the prices down later on, keep that in mind. It's no longer going to be $30. So even if you assume that you're going to add $30 in value to your card, plus the time and shipping and whatever else, it's not going to be that same $30 later. And I would say that the majority of anything that's being sent in, especially Pokemon-wise, you're not going to make your card worth $30 more for the majority of submissions. I'm sure there are exceptions, but take that into consideration. If you're not the one holding on to it when the market returns to normal and people can grade with PSA again, great. But at the same time, someone's going to be stuck with that SGC ratata, and it's not going to be worth an extra $30.
There's a card. Wow, that's.
I want to preface this with, guys, I don't know how much is coming. I wish the market data was out there. If I knew, I would go lower, I would go higher. We have been debating this, Jeff. I mean it when I say I have lost sleep over it. If the correct level is $35 a card, $40 a card, are we going to get flooded at $50 a card? We simply don't know.
As of today, you're back down to $30 a card.
Without being too mean, Peter here seems to get lost on a few things. Details that you probably should know. Also a little bit concerning that you go from 8 employees to over 100 in a very short period of time. How do 8 people teach everyone all 100 people in like 6 months how to grade, and how are things going to stay consistent as they were before?
Back then, we were roughly, we always lose track of the number, roughly 8 members of our team were in this office processing cards every day, sending out somewhere between about 150 and 250 cards. Today, we have about 110 employees, and we have 20x our output to 4,000 cards a day, which I get chills when I say that.
That's incredible. All that growth. So you literally have hired 100 plus employees, increased your output by 20x over less than a year.
Correct.
during COVID.
Correct. During COVID.
Wow, that's wild.
And quality is, I think the biggest aspect that I put the most stock in and is the most important to me.
Insert B-roll of cards being graded. We use makeup brushes, not compressed air like PSA. That really sets us apart. So here we go. We have the quality assurance, which looks like it's 3 guys in a hallway.
This is actually what we call our proofing department.
Okay.
This department basically acts as SGC's one and only quality assurance check.
Surely these individuals are the cream of the crop, some of your top graders that are able to verify that everything going out is spot on.
These individuals most of them have spent time in our verification room. They have grading knowledge to some level.
Seriously? Grading knowledge to some level.
Certainly. And they are basically checking that all cards, basically evaluated by SGC, the grade looks correct, they're properly identified. The difference between a Steph Curry rookie and a Steph Curry rookie refractor, it's quite a bit.
Sort of weird that you wouldn't want somebody with experience in all areas, maybe an all-around, trained in every department, since they're checking everything to do with the card. But it's also sort of weird that you use walkie-talkies in 2021.
What's going on, Pete?
Brian, could you please make your way to SGC VV to pick up some cards for me? Shall we?
Let's do it.
I'll be there shortly.
And this
Here we have a look at one of the rooms for grading. He says 4 here. Later on in the video, he says he thinks it's 4 different rooms. We don't really see 4 different rooms. I don't know if they actually have 4. Nice to see that they at least have the sonic welder in the same room. I've seen other companies previously where they don't have it in the same room, and when you're transporting cards that aren't sealed, the chances of them getting pinched in between the case, probably pretty good at some point that's going to happen, or if somebody drops something. Bad times for your cards.
these guys look busy back here. What are these guys doing?
These guys are always busy. How are you guys? This is Jorge, Eric, Enrique, Skadrick, Andy, Carnell, Frankie, Aaron, and Jesse.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is one of our 4 encapsulation rooms.
Okay.
So the one thing about SGC is we believe this is our territory. Throw up some jerseys, have fun with it, basically. Yeah.
Sort of ironic here that the jerseys on the wall are just jerseys on the wall. They're not framed or anything. By a company that specializes in encapsulating cards, you would think that they would want to encapsulate and or frame the jerseys that are on the walls. Nothing against the individual people grading the cards or grading companies in general, but it's pretty well known that you're not exactly getting paid big bucks as an entry-level grader. Not saying there isn't potential to move up within a company, but this is basically just a bunch of guys at a kitchen table putting your cards in plastic.
We're all sports fans. These guys are basically just making sure that every single card that we grade is not only handled as safely as possible, but is also encapsulated as aesthetically pleasing as possible. This is the final product. The one thing that our encapsulation team hears all the time is this is where the bread is baked. At the end of the day, our graders could do their job, our verification team could do their job, our shippers could be the best shippers who don't make any mistakes. But what good is it if the cards don't look so great?
I understand that most grading companies are extremely similar, and maybe the thing that sets SGC apart the most is the case with the black insert, but it's really weird that they put so much emphasis on that rather than the quality of the service that they're offering, since I would think that would be the most important part.
Basically, we have the unique tuxedo look
Right.
that people tend to like, the black background, and That takes a lot of labor.
Yeah.
That's not easy. Basically, if, let's say this year's Prism has a certain die cut that's a commonly submitted card, we will actually go to our vendor and have them kind of handcraft a frame for that card.
So sort of weird that they mentioned this, but it never shows up in the video. And with a quick search, I don't see it either. There's a prime example of a card with a really weird cut that doesn't have a custom insert or frame. Maybe the size is a little bit different. Also kind of weird that it isn't something that they can do in-house. They have to get the vendor to do it. Maybe even have the outside case made by the vendor, and then the ability to 3D print or mold or whatever shape that you need to make it for the special cards. Beyond me. If you guys know where I can see one of these custom inserts that are cut like the card, please show it to me.
We say, you know what, that Zion's worth $30,000, put it in Andy's hands.
A little bit of reassurance for everyone that is submitting $30,000 cards. Andy is going to take care of them. For everyone else, I'm sorry, you're stuck with the brand new employees, the 100 of them that are there now. So this sort of blows my mind that Jeff doesn't know what the sonic welder is. I don't know if maybe he was just playing it up for the camera. Maybe he was just giving an opportunity to show off a piece of equipment that is very basic, and every card collector, whether they grade or not, should know what it is.
All right, so what is this thing here? Look at this. This is some serious hardware that I'm looking at right in front of me.
That is correct.
And it says tuxedo time. So is this where the magic is made? This is where the tuxedo happens?
We couldn't do it without this machine.
Okay.
This here is called a sonic welder.
Okay.
Basically, the way that it works, you can see this thing is, it's been through some cards before. Basically, when a card is encapsulated, it's put in its holder. It's put under here. This machine, you press here, it basically vibrates. This here, I believe they refer to it as the horn. The horn vibrates at such a high velocity, it actually melts the plastic to each other,
wow,
which creates the seal.
Yeah, which seals the card in.
Yep, so you hear, this machine makes a very unique sound, and that sound echoes through our office about 4,000 times a day.
So not brand new. Also, for some reason, mounted on a pallet instead of an actual stand or something built for that reason. A little bit makeshift. It always blows my mind when a grading company doesn't have enough of these or doesn't have them in the same room. Yes, the noise is probably annoying, but at the same time, to prevent transport, I think you can find them for as little as like $3,000. Yes, the piece on it, the horn that he refers to, would have to be custom made, but it's just a block of steel. Can be made. Once you have the pattern, once you have one, I'm sure to get additional pieces would be very inexpensive.
All right, Peter, so what is this?
So this is one part of our imaging department. This is Jordan. He's been working in our imaging department for a while. He does a great job. Here we have an O-Pee-Chee Gretzky in a 6.5.
Nice card.
The only thing better than getting back your O-Pee-Chee Gretzky in a favorable grade is getting a free image of that card.
I absolutely hate it when people refer to something as free when it's obviously baked into the price. It's like free shipping. It's not free shipping. That just the price is higher and incorporates shipping, even though it doesn't show a shipping charge here. Also benefits their records in terms of being able to say, hey, the card was graded like this before it was sent out to you. If anything tends to happen to it or anything else, it's pretty mandatory at this point, I guess, with the other companies doing the same thing. So I don't know. That just irks me the wrong way when someone advertises something as this freebie that you should be so grateful for, but at the same time you're paying for it. His salary, the photo guy that's left clicking to take an image, that's part of the grading fee. Here we get a quick look at some of the expansion that's going on. Really weird that Peter doesn't know what was there before. It's almost like somebody's giving a tour, but it's their first time in the building and doesn't really know what's going on. Maybe he's a lot more hands-off than he wants to let on, but weird that he brings the stuff up that doesn't need to be there, but is there, and just shows his lack of knowledge of the building and the process itself.
Here, you'll see some empty desks. Basically, if you're wondering what we've been up to for the last month, it's this. It's basically
Expanding.
putting this office together.
Right.
This office, quite literally 3 weeks ago, was an empty space. And you'll notice here, I am not ashamed to show this at all. So like I said, this was actually, I believe, a real estate company as early as 3-4 weeks ago. They moved out of here. This is all storage. This is desks.
Yeah,
this is
you've got all kinds of
desktops.
desk carts. It looks like
Chairs,
looks like you're
boxes.
still planning on hiring a lot more people. With,
Yeah,
I've seen
you could say that.
piles of desks, piles of chairs.
What up, what up? How are you guys? This is Josh and Matt.
Hey guys.
Josh, how you doing?
So are these guys shipping all the orders that were just coming through?
That is correct.
Over there?
That is correct.
Okay.
So this is one of our 2 shipping departments, and the reason we have 2 shipping departments is we have 2 assembly lines.
So here's a little taste of, I guess, how small these companies are. Again, SGC probably being much larger than some of these new startups. Kind of weird. We got 2 people shipping, I guess, and 2 more maybe in another room somewhere. That's it. Sort of odd. And then also the mention of 2 assembly lines. I thought there were 4 grading rooms, but maybe they're 4, but they're not all up and running. Maybe there's more than that. We don't know. He doesn't know. If the president doesn't know, how the hell are we supposed to know?
Another assembly line? Is that what I'm looking at here?
That is correct. So this is our 2nd assembly line,
Okay.
different from what we just saw.
Yep.
We actually refer to that office as SGC Vivi because that was the name of the company that left. And to us, for years, that had just been them, and now it's us. In here, we have what is our 2nd research and identification department, basically. This is Jimmy, Alex, Scott, Grant, and Joe. Scott and Joe are our newest employees in here. You guys, this is your first week, correct?
You have 2 people on their first week, and they're in the research department with one guy that's got his back turned to them. That's helping them, hopefully.
For that reason, we call this actually our classroom. Jimmy here is one of our, we call it verification. Jimmy's one of our verification leaders. He kind of specializes in the teaching of cards. So some of our leaders focus more on the production, just putting their heads down and getting the cards identified correctly, getting them out. Jimmy here is more focused on the growth of those around him. So
You got a room full in here.
We do. How are you guys? This is Nick, Marco, Louis, DeMonte, and Danny. Where's Rob? He's out lunch? Stepped out for a second. Well, basically, this is one of, I believe, 4 encapsulation rooms.
There's only a handful of rooms in this facility. I don't know how you don't know how many there are for sure. It's weird that you're guessing 4.
First off, we refer to this room as the Thunderdome for whatever it's worth. We talk, we communicate via walkie-talkie, and it's not uncommon to hear Thunderdome. You know, when do we have cards going down to proofing? We're running short. These guys, as you can see, it says 4K today, boys, simply because that's our goal, 4,000 cards a day, and that is something that it takes everyone to make a number like that happen. That's not easy to send out 4,000 graded cards effectively every day.
So if you've ever done some sort of production job or shipping job, you'll know that there is a quota that you're trying to meet, and your boss is always going to be pushing you to hit those numbers. And if you don't hit those numbers, they're going to tell you to speed it up. And when you speed it up, you're going to make mistakes. So great that you want to hit 4K, but again, if the quality of the service is going to suffer for that, which it almost certainly is if you're pushing people to go faster than they're comfortable with, that's what you end up with.
But look, this industry, thank goodness, has really blown up. Something special's happened, and these grading companies are just doing their best to kind of catch up to what's gone on, you know, out there.
Wild, yes. I still believe it's extremely temporary, especially the grading companies that aren't in the upper echelon of what was preferred and where everyone was sending beforehand, where that additional value was represented. I think SGC and everyone else needs to be very careful.
All right, guys, Peter has agreed to show us something really, really crazy. Tell us what this is.
Sure. So this is called a VSC machine. I'm not sure what VSC stands for in all honesty, but this thing is just incredible.
Again, if you don't know what something stands for, maybe don't bring it up in an interview, walkthrough tour. maybe learn about it beforehand, do a little prep work. Let me help you out with that. It's a video spectral comparator is what the VSC stands for. Basically just an abbreviation, kind of like grading companies use the three-letter abbreviation. So I'm sure he doesn't know what it does either, but basically a good tool for inspecting documents to make sure that they're real. Usually not in the card grading world. You would have separate instruments for these techniques, but it is capable of taking pictures, I guess video, magnification, UV light, fluorescence, and transmitted light, which is basically just light coming from the bottom. So that's why you see the little tray on there. That'll just put light through the bottom of the card or whatever document that you're scanning. Weird that it's in another room, probably not being used very often.
I believe we acquired this machine right around when I was first hired by SGC. I know it's a very expensive machine, and the thing works magic.
And this...
Here at SGC, we don't use science. Screw that. We use magic, guys. We grade your cards with magic.
Is used in the grading process when you're trying to make a determination, a detailed determination between different grades.
That's correct. So as everyone knows, you know, the alteration of cards is obviously a very impactful issue that's kind of plaguing the hobby right now. And when it comes to our graders, let's say our graders just don't necessarily feel comfortable grading the card numerically because they feel it may be trimmed on a certain side, or, you know, the background on a green cob looks oddly colored in, let's say. This is their go-to. You know,
this is going to figure it out. All right, show me how this works.
You got it. So we'll just take this. We have a good one here. This is a 1953 Topps Mickey Mantle.
Okay.
So Jeff, why don't you take a look at that card? Tell me what you think. Maybe, you know, you could estimate a grade range. You know, just eye appeal itself.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I mean, it looks pretty decent to me. Obviously, you know, as you would expect with a vintage card, you got a soft corner down there, a little bit of edging issue. The centering's off a bit, certainly. But honestly, for an older card, it looks pretty solid other than the soft corners and a little bit of the centering. I don't see any type of surface issues. I don't really see any creases. So from that perspective, I don't know. I think it's pretty good. What might this grade like maybe a 6 or a 7 because you got the corner issues, but other than that, no surface issues?
Sure. So the reason you're at a 6 or a 7, Jeff, is on the eye appeal of the card.
Right.
The card presents beautifully. If this card was just as it appears, I would say that this would reach, based on the toning, the corners, everything you touched upon, you're a little high there.
Okay.
I would probably put this card in the range of somewhere between a 4.5 and a 5.
Okay.
Okay, but now it's time for the fun part.
Okay.
So let's stick this into the VSC and take a better look at it. Okay, so just like that.
Whoa.
Immediately.
What is that?
So here we're seeing either, I would probably call that more of a wrinkle than a crease.
I didn't see that on the card.
So like I said, Jeff, I estimated this grade without these issues somewhere between a 4.5 and a 5.
So this is a little bit concerning. You have a device that can lower the grade of a card, but it's not always used and it's not apparent beforehand. So if your card happens to go to someone that decides they want to walk over into another room, which probably doesn't happen very often because they have a quota to meet, then it can lose points because of something that's not visible. Okay.
If this specific card went out in an SGC 4.5 or a 5, that would be a completely inappropriately graded card.
Wow. So this card's actually going to grade a lot lower because it's got some wrinkles, some creases, some issues that might not even be detected. But when you put it in here, you can see they clearly exist. So who's this lady over here? She looks important.
This is Jody.
She looks like she's in charge.
We would not be here without Jody. Jody joined our team about a year ago. And it's funny, Jody comes from a little more of a corporate background.
So what are you responsible for?
Everything that's not card related.
No offense to Jody, but this doesn't come off as very professional when she doesn't have an actual title. She just does everything that's not related to cards. Give Jody a title, for the love of God. Just even if you make it up for the video. That's it for now, guys. I hope this was a little bit helpful, maybe even to SGC. These are just my criticisms. Again, I don't grade cards. I don't believe in it. I think my expertise, or anyone that spends enough time with the cards and stuff that they collect, can exceed the expectations of these grading companies. So put the time in. You'll be able to tell if stuff is fake, and you'll be able to gauge condition just as well as the experts, as they call them. Again, if you really like to grade cards, by all means do it. If you like SGC, go with them. If you like somebody else, go with them. At the end of the day, it's what makes you happy. Collect what you like. See you next time.